Nama Shreshtam Manumapi Sachiputram Matra Swarupam Rupam Tasikrajam Urupurim Maturim Gostavatim Radhakundam Gidivaram Aho Radhika Madhavasam Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi. Reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya-lila, Chapter 4, entitled Sanatana Goswami Visits the Lord. And we'll start at text 47. Durdaivi sevaka yadi yaya anyastane se takora danya tare tuli dare ane. If by chance a servant falls down and goes somewhere, glorious is that master who captions him and brings him back by the hair. They're talking about the attachment of Murari Gupta and Sanatana Goswami's youngest brother, Anupam, to Lord Ramachandra. How the devotee who does not give up the shelter of his Lord is very honourable. But also the Lord who does not give up their devotee. And of course it immediately, and this is Mahaprabhu quoting this, it immediately brings to mind the pastime of Kaliya Krishnadas and the Bhattataris. Remember that one? During Mahaprabhu's tour of South India, he had a servant whose name was Kaliya Krishnadas. And the Bhattataris were a gypsy community. And they used to use their women to attract new people, to seduce people, to attract men. And then they'd once you were in, you couldn't get out. Once you're in, they had you. So they did this to Kaliya Krishnadas, Mahaprabhu's servant. And Mahaprabhu himself went there into their community. So they were like gypsies, itinerant, but an Indian type gypsy, so they were also spiritualists. They had their own spiritual practices in line with some kind of... They called themselves sannyasis, and some of them were considered some type of sannyasi. But Mahaprabhu went in himself to the gypsy camp and rescued Krishnadas, Kaliya Krishnadas, dragging him out by the hair. And all the gypsies came at him with their weapons. They tried to attack Mahaprabhu, but their weapons were bouncing back and hitting themselves. And so Mahaprabhu grabbed him and dragged him out, rescued him from the gypsy camp where he had been for the night. And of course, this little verse here, if by chance a servant falls down and goes somewhere else, glorious is that master who captures him and brings him back by the hair, which is literally what Mahaprabhu did to Kaliya Krishnadas. Bala haila tomara ihan haila agamane, e gare raha ihan haridasa sane. It is very good that you have arrived here. Now stay in this room with Haridas Thakur. So Mahaprabhu is talking to Sanatana Goswami, who has arrived in Puri and is staying with, like Rupa Goswami, he's staying with Haridas Thakur. Krishna Bhakti Rasi Dunhe Parama Pradhan, Krishna Rasa Asvadan Karat Laha Krishna Nam. Both of you are expert in understanding the mellows of Lord Krishna's devotional service. Therefore you should both continue relishing the taste for such activities and chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Etabali Mahaprabhu Antya-lila Govinda Dvaraya Dunhe Prasada Pataila. Having said this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got up and left, and through Govinda he sent prasad for them to eat. Hey Mata Sanatana Rahi Prabhustane Jagannath Tera Chakra Deki Karena Praname Jai Shri Gurudev Hare Krishna. In this way, Sanatana Goswami stayed under the care of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He would see the wheel on the pinnacle of the Jagannath temple and offer respectful obeisances. Prabhu Ashe Pratidina Milena Dui Jane Ishta Goshti Krishna Kata Kahi Kata Kshane. Every day Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would go there and meet these two stalwart devotees and discuss topics of Krishna with them for some time. Divya prasada paya nitya jagannatha mandire taha ani nitya avasya dena donha kare. The offerings of prasad in the temple of Lord Jagannath were the highest quality. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would bring this prasad and deliver it to both devotees. Ekadina ashi prabhu dunhare milila sanatane achambite kahite lagila. One day, when the Lord came to meet them, he suddenly began speaking to Sanatana Goswami. Sanatana deha tyage Krishna yade paye koti deha kshaneke tabe chadite pariye. My dear Sanatan, he said, if I could attain Krishna by committing suicide, I would certainly give up millions of bodies without a moment's hesitation. Deha tyage Krishna na pai paye bhajane Krishna praptyera upaya kona nahi bhakti vine. You should know that one cannot attain Krishna simply by giving up the body. If Krishna is attainable by devotional service, there is no other means to attain him. Deha tyagadi yata sabha tamo dharma tamo rajo dharma krishnera na paye marma. Acts such as suicide are influenced by the mode of ignorance, and in ignorance and passion one cannot understand who Krishna is. Bhakti vina Krishna prabhu nahe premodaya prema vina Krishna prapti anya haitenaya. Unless one discharges devotional service, one cannot awaken one's dormant love for Krishna, and there is no means to attain him other than awakening that dormant love. Na sadhayati mam yogo na sankyam dharma udhava na svadhyayas tapasya go yata bhaktir mamorjita. Jai Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Uddhava, neither through Ashtanga Yoga, nor through impersonal monism, or an analytical study of the absolute truth, nor through the study of the Vedas, nor through austerities, charity, or acceptance of sannyas can one satisfy me as much as by developing devotional service unto me. Purport. Verses from Srimad Bhagavatam 11:14-20. Deha tyagari tamo dharma Deha tyagari tamo dharma pataka karana sadhaka na paya tate krishnera charana. Measures like suicide are causes for sin. A devotee never achieves shelter at Krishna's lotus feet by such actions. Premi bhakti, premi bhakta viyoge chahe deha chadite, preme Krishna mile seha na pare marite. Because of feelings of separation from Krishna, an exalted devotee sometimes wants to give up his life. By such ecstatic love, however, one attains the audience of Krishna, and at that time he cannot give up his body. Gadha nuragera viyoga nayaya sahana tate anurage vanche apana marana. One who is deeply in love with Krishna cannot tolerate separation from the Lord. Therefore, such a devotee always desires his own death. Yasyangri pankaja raja snapanam mahanto vanchat yuma patir ivatma tamo pahatyai. Yar hyambu jaksha nalabheya bhavat prasadam jayam asun vrata krishan jata janmadabhi syat. O lotus-eyed one, great personalities like Lord Shiva desire to bathe in the dust of your lotus feet to drive away ignorance. I do not get the mercy of your lordship. If I do not, how shall I observe? I shall observe vows to reduce the duration of my life, and thus I shall give up bodies for hundreds of births, if it is possible to get your mercy in that way. Sinchanga nastvad adharamrita purakena hasavaloka kalagitajja hrichayagnim nachedvayam viraha jagya upayukta deha janena yama padayoho padavim sakite. O dear Krishna, your smiling glances and melodious talk, through that, or by your smiling glances and melodious talk, you have awakened a fire of lusty desire in our hearts. Now you should extinguish that fire with a stream of nectar from your lips by kissing us. Kindly do this. Otherwise, dear friend, the fire within our hearts will burn our bodies to ashes because of separation from you. Thus, by meditation, we shall claim shelter at your lotus feet. It's a verse by the gopis, attracted by the vibration of Krishna's flute in the moonlight of autumn. That's from the purport. Kubuddhi chadiyakara shravana kirtana achirat pabe tabe krishnera charana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Sanatana Goswami, give up all your nonsensical desires, for they are unfavorable for getting shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. Engage yourself in chanting and hearing, then you will soon achieve the shelter of Krishna without a doubt. Nicha jati nahe Krishna bhajane ayogya satkula vipra nahe bhajanera yogya. A person born in a low family is not unfit for discharging devotional service to Lord Krishna. Nor is one fit for devotional service simply because he is born in an aristocratic family of brahmanas. Ye bhaje se bada abhakta hinachara Krishna bhajane nahe jati kuladi vichara. Anyone who takes to devotional service is exalted, whereas a non-devotee is always condemned and abominable. Therefore, in the discharge of devotional service to the Lord, there is no consideration of the status of one's family. Dinere adhikadaya kare bhagavan kulina pandita danera bada abhiman. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is always favorable to the humble and meek. But aristocrats, learned scholars, and the wealthy are always proud of their positions. Kulina pandita danira bada abhiman. Great pride, abhiman, great ego. From what? Kulina, aristocratic. Kulina, to do with one's kula, one's tribe. So one's born, one's proud of one's tribe or one's family. Kula, home. Translated as aristocratic. Pandita, learned scholar. Danira, rich. Sources of abhiman. And what does abhiman do? Blocks bhakti.
Abhiman again is
Ego. Vipradvisad guna yutad aravindanabha padaravinda vimukat svapacham varishtam manye tad arpita manovachani hitartha pranam punati sakulam natu burimanaha. One may be born in a Brahmin family and have all 12 Brahminical qualities, but if in spite of being thus qualified, he is not devoted to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, who has a navel shaped like a lotus, he is not as good as a Chandala, who has dedicated his mind, words, activities, wealth, and life to the service of the Lord. Simply to take birth in a Brahmana family or to have Brahminical qualities is not sufficient. One must be a pure devotee of the Lord. Thus, if a Shvapacha or Chandala is a devotee, he delivers not only himself but his entire family as well. Whereas a Brahmana who is not a devotee but simply has Brahminical qualifications cannot even purify himself, what to speak of his family.
Chandala is another word for devotee?
No, Chandala, if one is a Chandala but a devotee, he's higher than, the verse is saying he's higher than a Brahmana. So a Chandala is known as an outcast.
Oh.
Chandala is someone, the four Varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, were considered the four categories of society, for social categories into which people would fit, kind of socio-economic type categories. But Chandalas didn't occupy even the lowest category of Sudra, so they were considered social pariahs, outcasts. Yeah.
What is the sentence? If his Chandala, what?
So it's saying that even if one is born in the highest of families, the best of Brahmin families, and they have all the nice qualities of a Brahmana, there's like, it says 12 qualities. So the traditional qualities of a Brahmana are like, they're peaceful, they're merciful, they're tolerant, they're honest, they're learned, etc. All of these good qualities. So a person may be a high-class Brahmana with all of these good qualities, but he's saying that even a Chandala, a social outcast who has devotion to Krishna, is higher than that Brahmana, even if that Brahmana, provided that Brahmana does not himself have bhakti. So thus, if a Chandala is a devotee, he delivers not only himself but his entire family, whereas a Brahmana who is not a devotee but has Brahminical qualities cannot purify his family or himself. Bhajjanera madhye shreshta navavidha bhakti Krishna prema Krishna deti dari mahashakti. Among the ways of executing devotional service, the 9 prescribed methods are the best, for these processes have great potency to deliver Krishna and ecstatic love for him. Tara madhye sarva shreshta nama sankirtan Niraparade nama laile paya premadan. Of the 9 processes of devotional service, the most important is to always chant the holy name of the Lord. If one does so, avoiding the 10 kinds of offences, one very easily obtains the most valuable love of God. There you go, we were talking about this the other week. If there's a most important one. There you have it, always chanting. Of course, the principle here is not just glib chanting, not just mindless chanting. Mindless chanting is pointless, pretty much. But chanting with attention, quality chanting. There's another verse in chapter 7. It's a bit tatty, aren't they? Chapter 7, I don't know, I think it's chapter 7 of Antya-lila. Adi-lila. And it's Bahujanma Jariyari Shravana Kirtan Tabutana Pai Krishna Pari Premadan. You can chant for lifetimes. Bahujanma, many lifetimes. Shravan Kirtan. You can hear in Bahujanma Jariyari Shravana Kirtan. Tabutana Pai Krishna Pari Premadan. But you won't get the wealth of Krishna's lotus feet. Na Pai Krishna Pari Premadan. You won't get that. If your chanting is not connected with Gauranga, free from offences, and connected with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So just the chanting itself is not necessarily going to do it. It has to be quality. It has to have some quality to it. So it's the same with, as Mahaprabhu is saying here, the most important limb of the 9 limbs of bhakti is chanting. But the chanting must have consciousness, must have quality. Because when it has quality, then one can remember Krishna. So that's the ultimate goal, is to have one's consciousness infused with Krishna consciousness. And if the chanting is not producing Krishna consciousness, then it's not serving its purpose. So the chanting should be done so that it produces a memory of Krishna, which is known as smarana.
So avoid the 10 offences and some more things will help us to be in a good posture to remember Krishna, and all of this will make us qualified to chant.
Well, avoiding the 10 offences is quite a task in itself.
Quite a what?
A task. I mean, if you're avoiding the das nama parad, the 10 offences, then you're doing more than anyone I've ever met. Pretty much.
Okay. Try to avoid them.
To attempt to, and eventually it will happen. But it's not so much of an easy task. Some of them you could say are easier than others. We can avoid offending people, avoid offending devotees. Right? The first offense is to offend devotees, and it's given as offense number 1, not arbitrarily, intentionally, because it's the most important. And then number 2 is perspective on Krishna, to not consider the holy name to be equal to the names of other deities. And also 2a and 2b, to consider Krishna's form and name and lila to be separate. You could say that's relatively easy. Number 3, not offend the guru, not consider the guru an ordinary man, okay. Number 4, the Shastra, to honor the Shastras. Not to consider the name exaggeration, the glories of the name. Not to consider it imagination. Not to try and use a dictionary to understand, to linguistically, etymologically understand what the holy name is about through studying its grammatic roots. Like to go into the Sanskrit etymology of it to try and understand its power. That's number 5. Well, that's part of number 5. Number 4. No, number 5. Number 6 is to consider it imagination. Number 7, to misbehave, to commit transgressions, sins, and then chant to rectify that. To sin and then chant to remove the sin. And then number 8 is to consider that the chanting is equal to Vedic rituals designed to improve one's circumstances materially, known as karma kanda rituals. And number 9 is to give the holy name to people that don't want it. Faithless people that have no interest in receiving it. And so you could say that, okay, well, that doesn't seem too difficult. There's some things to be conscious of. They don't seem too difficult. Number 10, of course, is difficult, because number 10 says that maintain, even while being given the gift of the holy name, that you maintain links with your previous desires, your previous attachments. You give fuel to your previous habits or samskaras. You don't drop everything and leave it behind, even though you've been given this alternative that is more than compensates. You still cling on to things. There's a rough translation as to, I think when they would chant, they probably still do chant the 10 offences in ISKCON every morning, as part of the morning program. And the translation that Prabhupada gave, Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, was to maintain material desires well, even while chanting the holy name of the Lord, to maintain material desires. Something like that. And that is the basic gist. To not give enough attention to eliminating the negative. So chanting Harinam is cultivating of the positive. But Guru Maharaj gives the example of a ship. And if the ship may want to, may fire up its engines and may start its journey, but if it doesn't lift its anchor, it's going to have a problem. So the Harinam mantra is like the ship's engine firing up. And the 10th offense is like the anchor not being raised. Committing the 10th offense is not like not raising the anchor. So that's a broad one, and it's a deep one. So the others, you could say, maybe see that's a little easy, but number 10 can be a little difficult. So when Mahaprabhu says that of the 9 processes of devotional service, the most important is to always chant the holy name of the Lord. So if one does so, saying Nama Parade, Nama Laile, Paya Premadan, Nira Parade, so right, yeah, so without offense, then they will get the Premadan, the wealth of love, wealth of prem. So it's without offense is a word, a phrase requiring the attention. Has to be quality. Eta shuni sanatanera haila chamatkara prabhure na bhaya mora marana vichara. After hearing this, Sanatana Goswami was exceedingly astonished. He could understand. My decision to commit suicide has not been greatly appreciated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sarvagya Mahaprabhu ne siddhila more Prabhura charana dare kahina tanhare. Sanatana Goswami concluded, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who knows everything, past, present and future, has forbidden me to commit suicide. He fell down, touching the lotus feet of the Lord, and spoke to him as follows. Sarvagya kripalu tumi ishvara svatantra yaiche nachayo taiche nache yena kashta yantra. My Lord, you are the omniscient, merciful, independent, supreme Lord. Exactly like an instrument of wood, I dance as you make me to do so. Like a puppet. Nicha adama pamara muni pamara svabhava mora jiaile tomara kiba habe labha. I am low born, indeed I am the lowest. I am condemned, for I have all the characteristics of a sinful man. If you keep me alive, what will be the profit? Prabhu kahe tomara deha morani jadana tumi more kariyacha atma samarpana. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, your body is my property, you have already surrendered unto me. Therefore, you no longer have any claim to your body. Parera dravya tumi kene chaha vinashite dharma dharma vichara kiva napara karite. Why should you want to destroy another's property? Can't you understand what is right and wrong? Tomara sharira mora pradana sadhana e sharire sadhimu ami bahu prayojana. Your body is my principal instrument for executing many necessary functions. By your body I shall carry out many tasks. Bhakta bhakti Krishna prema tatvera nidhara Vaishnavera kritya ara Vaishnava achara. You shall have to ascertain the basic principles of a devotee, devotional service, love of Godhead, Vaishnav duties, and Vaishnav characteristics. This is referencing the instructions given during Sanatana Shiksha that we were reading a few weeks ago. Krishna Bhakti Krishna Prema Seva Pravartana Lupta Tirtha Udhara Ara Vairagya Shikshana. You will also have to explain Krishna's devotional service, establish centers for the cultivation of love of Krishna, excavate the lost places of pilgrimage, and teach people how to adopt the renounced order of life. So he's telling Sanatana, you've got a lot of work to do. I have a lot of work, I have a lot in mind for you. You've got lots of work in the future. So there's no need to commit suicide. Nija priyastana mora mathura brindavan tahan eta dharma chahi karite pracharan. Mathura Brindavan is my own very dear abode. I want to do many things there to preach Krishna consciousness. Matara agyaya ami vasinila chale tahan dharma sikaite nahini jabale. By the order of my mother, I am sitting here in Jagannath Puri. Therefore, I cannot go to Mathura Vrindavan to teach people how to live there according to religious principles. Eta sabha karma ami yedehi karimu taha charite chahutumi kemani sahimu. I have to do all of this work through your body, but you want to give it up? How can I tolerate this? Tabe sanatana kahe tomake namaskare tomara gambira hridaya ka bujite pare. At that time, Sanatana Goswami said to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. No one can understand the deep ideas you plan. No one can understand the deep ideas you plan within your heart. Jai Jai Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So, yes? Is it today? Saptami. Could be. Yeah, Panchami was Saptami today. Panchami 2 days ago. Yeah, so 2 days after after Basant Panchami. Would be then, yeah. Advaita Saptami. Advaita Acharya Jai. Shri Advaita Acharya Avirbhav Titi Mahotsava Ki Jai. Should we launch into a discussion on Advaita Acharya? Do we have until 9 o'clock? Advaita Acharya is known as Mahavishnu in Chaitanya-lila. Mahavishnu, sometimes seen as Sadashiva Mahavishnu, different conceptions. But he was the one. Briefly, we will have to say something that Advaita Acharya was the one that called Mahaprabhu to come and appear at Navadvip. He was the elderly, you could say, Vaishnav leader of Navadvip. But he was a great teacher, a great guru. And he has his own line of followers and disciples. Just like Nityananda Prabhu and Gadadhar Pandit and Advaita Acharya. They all have different branches, descendants, that are still living today. The one of them, follower of Advaita Acharya, actually coming in his family line, lives in Navadvip at Advaita Bhavan. That's where Saraswati and Devananda Prabhu stayed when they were there last year. And his name is Gopal, right? Is it Gopal?
I think it's, yeah.
Yeah, Gopal. Gopal Acharya. And he is in the line of Advaita Acharya. So they have these Goswami lineages. Advaita Acharya had many followers. He's a big guru, big teacher, big pundit, but also a great devotee. So he felt he was looking at the situation in Navadvip, which he didn't see a vibrant spiritual culture. The situation was where it's described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat that the people were getting their entertainment from marriage ceremonies they're marrying cats for fun. They get a couple of cats and doing the marriage ceremony. That kind of, it's a different culture, a different time, but to get your kicks from that shows that your consciousness is not at the loftier end of the human consciousness spectrum. But bemoaning this, he was begging for the Lord to appear. So he would sit on the banks of the Ganges offering Ganga Jal, tulsi leaves, to his Shalagram Shila and begging for the descent of the divine. So he was a catalyst. He was the catalyst by which Krishna appears, by which Mahaprabhu appears.
Who was his guru?
Advaita Acharya's guru. Oh, I don't know. I'm sure the lineage is given somewhere. He's probably the most elderly of Mahaprabhu's group. He's even older than Srivas Pandit. So when Mahaprabhu was born, Advaita Acharya is probably already well into his middle age. So by the time of Mahaprabhu's Navadvip Kirtan pastimes, Advaita Acharya could be elderly, in his 70s. So he lives to a very ripe old age. But there are many, many, many pastimes. He has that role of a grandfather figure to the devotees in Navadvip, to Mahaprabhu as well. There are many incidents. One that comes to mind is how his teaching of Shastra caused Mahaprabhu's older brother to take sannyas, or at least that was Sachimata's interpretation of it. And when she saw her other boy, Nimai, going and associating with Advaita Acharya, she thought, oh, he's going to coerce him into taking sannyas too. So she kind of abused him or scolded him. And then ended up asking for forgiveness because it was a misinterpretation of Advaita Acharya's motives. The import being that even someone of Sachidevi's status is not immune from, is not above following principles of avoidance of Vaishnava aparat. But then Mahaprabhu himself, he scolded Advaita Acharya at one point. There's a book called the Vashishta, Advaita Vashishta, something like that. Advaita Vashishta, no. Something Vashishta. It'll come to me. But it's an impersonalist book. It's supposed to be the teachings of Vashishta Rishi to Lord Ram, but it's full of impersonalist doctrine, describing the Supreme as ultimately formless, attributeless, etc. No form. Advaita Vashishta. Anyway, Advaita Acharya wanted to attract the attention of Mahaprabhu. I forget the nuance detail. He wanted to be chastised by Mahaprabhu. So he started reading and teaching from this book and make it known that he was doing this. So Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, they traveled down to Shantipur, which is Advaita Acharya's other home. And Advaita Acharya's main base. That's where his Shripat is. And they chastise him, they beat him. Mahaprabhu's beating him with a stick. And his wife, whose name is Sita, she's saying, stop, he's old. You might kill him. Stop it. Mahaprabhu's beating him. And Advaita's going, yes, beat me more. Yoga Vishishta, that's what it's called. The Yoga Vishishta, yeah.
More generally, you said before that some associates of Mahaprabhu would have their disciples, right? Already before the appearance, some of them already before the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Advaita Acharya's case, yes.
Only, okay. But in this case of Advaita Acharya, what lineage was he attached to? Was he linked to? You know?
It may have been. You asked who was his guru. Was he a? I don't know if I'll look into it. I should know off the bat. He may be connected with Madhavendra Puri.
Okay.
In fact, is he? I'm hesitant to say yes because sometimes I've said things and it's turned out to be wrong and it's a bit embarrassing. But I should know because most of them were connected with Madhavendra Puri.
Okay, that's all I needed to know. Okay, that's the.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. But I'm not 100% certain, although I should be. I mean, Nityananda Prabhu is a disciple of Madhavendra Puri, and so many of the other associates of Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu is a grand disciple of Madhavendra Puri himself. Ishvara Puri, Mahaprabhu's guru, is a disciple of Madhavendra Puri.
Okay, so it's not that some of them came from complete different lineage, right? Some of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's associate.
They may have come from other places, but a lot of them are from, and that doesn't prohibit them from embracing bhakti. But Advaita Acharya, I think Madhavendra Puri. I have to look it up.
The follower of Madhavendra Puri in general way, were they very numerous at that time? Was he very... Did he
Yeah.
have a lot of...
I think so. Quite a few. And quite a few of them became prominent figures in their own right as well.
Oh.
Yeah. Madhavendra Puri was a very prominent figure. He's considered the sprouting of the seed of pure Raga Bhakti. The manifestation of Raga Bhakti in the modern era. If you look at the Parampara as given by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he's divided it into two. Up until the point of Madhavendra Puri, it's called the Vaidhi Bhakti Parampara. And from Madhavendra Puri down, it's known as the Raga Bhakti Parampara. So the original sprout of divine love, Madhavendra Puri. What Mahaprabhu gave kind of germinated with Madhavendra Puri.
The worship of Radharani as well as Krishna.
Yeah. The worship of Krishna in the mood of Radharani. Which is tantamount to worship of Radharani.
Was he known in all India, you would say?
Probably not. I mean, probably not. But in vast parts of India, for people in those circles, they would have heard of him, people in the know. But not all around India. Maybe a lot of India, for people in religious circles, in spiritual circles, because he did travel. He did travel around. If you read Chaitanya Bhagavat, you get some more insight into Nityananda Prabhu and Madhavendra Puri, relates how they met. I'm not sure if there's a book as such which chronicles his life. There's the stories that are given in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and also in the Sam and Chaitanya Bhagavat. The famous stories of finding Gopal near Govinda Kund at Govardhan and reinstalling him on Govardhan Hill, collecting the sandalwood for him, etc., etc. The dream, right? He has the dream. And Gopal comes to him and tells him, I'm lying hidden in the forest here, come and get me. But first he comes as a cowherd boy, a young boy, a cowherder, with some milk for him. Here, have this milk. And then the boy didn't come back, so he realized that this boy was Krishna. And then the same boy appears to him in a dream and says, look, I'm hidden here in the undergrowth. I'm covered in dirt, covered in vines, and the forest is growing over me. I'm suffering from the elements, the heat and the cold. Come and rescue me. So he wakes up from his dream and goes and finds this deity, like hidden, like almost half buried, because it's been lying there hidden for so long. And of course, there's the pastimes of this deity is to constantly be going and hiding. It's this Gopal Nataji. Nowadays he is worshipped in grand opulence. It's like the second wealthiest temple in India now. In this beautiful place in the old king's palace of Natadwara. It's known as Gopal Nataji. So the town is named after him, Natadwara. And Dwara, the door of the gate to the Lord. And it's in the desert in Rajasthan. So when you go out there, you're driving out there. I've been out there once. You're going out there and it's just desert. And then there's this cluster of kind of mountains, large hills. And the palace is built in this cluster of hills. And so the temple is in the palace. And there's roads that come down, sort of like in between the hills, like running radially out from the temple. And the whole town of Nathdwara is centered around this Gopal Nataji. And they have the most amazing Mangalarti ceremonies where there's thousands of people.
Wow.
Then Nataji, and boom, boom, boom. They almost push down the doors. They get very, very excited. Very excited. I thought, when I was there watching, I thought, God, they're going to push down the door and there's going to be like a stampede and people will get trampled. Didn't quite get to that. But then all around the roads running down from the king's palace in the center of this cluster of mountains down to the plains, they have all these stalls selling. It's a big tourist pilgrimage place, selling memorabilia, Gopal Nathji memorabilia, and prasad from the temple. And the temple offers they have truckloads of food come in every day. So they offer tons and tons of prasad every day. In that sense, it's with the finest ingredients. And in that sense, it's like as wealthy. Tirupati, I think, in South India is the wealthiest temple. And then Nathatua, Gopal Nathaji. But while I was there, I was sampling the sweet rice. They were selling it in plastic cups like this for 10 rupees, which was it's like 10 pence. And I tasted it, and it was like amazing. And I'm quite fussy with sweet rice, but it was sweet rice connoisseur. It's like there's several things that can quite easily go wrong with sweet rice. And if even one of those goes wrong, I'm like, no, I can't eat this. And this was absolutely perfect. It was like divine. And they're selling it, 10 rupees a cup. I ate about 100 rupees worth. I realized, okay. It was flavored with this camphor, and the rice was cooked just right, and the texture was just right. It was amazing. Divine sweet rice from Nathaji. But this was the deity that was found by Madhavendra Puri. This Gopal Nathaji. And his lila was to constantly be going into hiding. Which was how he got into the state, the place he was when he appeared to Madhavendra Puri in the dream. Because he had been hidden. And the hiding was all to do with the result of Islamic, what you call iconoclasm. Iconoclasm means they go and destroy all the cultural artifacts of the country they're invading, including all the deities and everything. So when there was word of an approaching Muslim army, then they would go and hide the deities. So Gopal was constantly being hidden. Even after he was reinstalled by Madhavendra Puri, and the whole Leela is described in the early chapters of Antya-lila, when Mahaprabhu was travelling to Puri after taking sannyas. And he is reinstalled with great pomp and ceremony on the top of Govardhan Hill, the only deity temple up there on the hill. Never been seen by any devotees, because Mahaprabhu, by modern devotees, Mahaprabhu prohibited any walking on Govardhan Hill. So there's still a temple up there. But the deity, Gopal deity, is not there. Not the original one, at least. So even after that, he was reinstalled by Madhavendra Puri. Still, we hear in the later chapters of Antya-lila how is it later chapters of Antya-lila or somewhere else? I forget. Anyway, how later on, when Rupa and Sanatan were there, they hadn't seen the Gopal deity because they hadn't walked up onto Govardhan Hill. But once again, due to some rumor, or maybe it was real information, whatever the case, some threat of the approach of some Islamic force, they would take Gopal and hide him somewhere in a residential house. So on one of these occasions, it's described how they took him from the temple and put him in a Brahmana's house in the town, Mathura, for 3 months or so, a couple of months. And Rupa Goswami and all the devotees from Krishnadas Kaviraj, everyone, from Vrindavan, they went and they spent 3 months in that area, in or around that house, so that they could have the darshan of the Gopal deity. And then again it happened twice. It's described that it happened twice. And then I guess maybe the third time, or it wouldn't be in total the third time, but the third time after he was reinstalled by Madhavendra Puri, maybe they thought it's time to whisk him further afield. So he was taken to Jaipur and then further out into Udaipur. Similar to could have been around the time that the deities of Rupa Goswami were taken to Jaipur. Because Jaipur was a safe place. Perhaps they thought that the repeated threats in that area was too unsafe for the deities. Particularly at the time of Aurangzeb, who was especially crazy. That during the time of Akbar, things were settled. Akbar was somewhat respectful towards other cultures and religions. Akbar was an enlightened Muslim ruler, whereas his son and grandson were quite the opposite. They were fanatical, iconoclastic madmen. And it was him, it was Aurangzeb, who they had their capital at Agra. It's like a few kilometers from Vrindavan. Not far, if you look on the map. It's not even 100 kilometers, I don't think. But at the top of the Radha Govinda temple in Vrindavan, it used to be 7 stories, made of the solid stone, solid sandstone. Beautiful, beautiful carved temple. Made with quality, like everything, from the construction material to the intricacy of the carvings, all done by hand, top quality. And then at the top, on the roof of the building, they had a large, it is said that they had a large bowl, like a vat, and that was filled with ghee, and had a ghee wick, like a extra size, like a big ghee wick like this, huge flame, and that would be constantly lit. So at night, the temple could be seen for miles around. This burning ghee lamp in the air. And one day, Aurangzeb was on the roof of his palace, and he's like, "What is that light over there in the distance?" Someone said to him, "Oh, that's a Hindu temple in Vrindavan." And he said, "Go and smash it up. I can't stand seeing that. Go and smash it up." So they came and kind of smashed off the top 3 levels of the temple. It must have been quite a job, because the temple's solid stone. They smashed the 3 levels and went in and kind of desecrated the deity area, and anyway. And the deities were whisked, I imagine at that time they were whisked to Jaipur, which was a safer place. But how do we get to that from Advaita Acharya? We'll have to backtrack here. So Madhavendra Puri, his guru. So we'll have to look that up. As I said, I should know straight off the bat, but we'll have to look it up. But anyway, Advaita Acharya has his own lineage, and he had several sons. Not all of them were favorable. Some of them turned against him. He had some 5 sons. A couple of them turned against him. A couple of them were very good devotees. And what else famous? That's about it. Nothing else is immediately coming to mind. We'll read from Revealed Truth by Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev-Goswami Maharaj. Our hope and challenge, even when we understand the idea and mood given by Mahaprabhu and his formula, Trinadapi Sunichena, it is still very difficult for us to follow. I have spoken about Mahaprabhu's formula my whole life, and so many people have heard about it from me. It is very easy to hear about it, and it is very easy and very good to speak about it with others also, no doubt. The difficulty is focusing on it in our own lives and following it properly. What Mahaprabhu has given us is the aim and objective of Vaishnavism. As the aim and objective of Vaishnavism is actually very difficult to follow. Some persons have spent a long life in Krishna consciousness, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. but not become enriched with the three qualities of humility, tolerance, and giving honor to others. There is an expression in Bengal, Vaishnava haba bali chila modasada, trinarapi shloke parigela vada. I had a strong desire to become a Vaishnava, but when I heard that I needed to follow Mahaprabhu's prescription of Trinarapi Sunichena, then I felt very hopeless. How will I ever become a Vaishnava? Everyone struggles to remember Mahaprabhu's formula and practice it properly. Sometimes we forget it and do something wrong, but when we come back to our good sense, we can immediately begin practicing it again. Every time we can start again, anew, and there is no problem with that. We forget, our sense comes back to us, and then we can go on, do good in our life. Again, do good in our life. In that way, we must try to go on and make ourselves perfect. Faith is our first necessity in this practice, and understanding and under the guidance of faith we can proceed properly to the line of Krishna consciousness. So many disturbances may come to us, but we can cross over them by faithfully trying to practice Mahaprabhu's simple formula: humility, tolerance, and giving honor to others. We are not always successful, but we are trying to do that. We should not be disappointed or frustrated. We must see that whatever situation comes to us has been given to us by Krishna. We will try to harmonize that situation through our practice of humility, tolerance, and giving honor to others. If we are not able to harmonize something and practice properly, then we can faithfully pray to our Master. You see everything and you properly look after everyone. Please do what is best for me. This type of faith in the Lord's protection over us is necessary to have behind our practice of Mahaprabhu's formula. Wonderful words by Srila Gurudev. We're almost at the end of this chapter 5. Jai Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev-Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Do you want to sing? Devananda Prabhu, did he?
Yeah, he can sing.
Lakshmi Rani did, he's going to sing. Hari Harai Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha Gopala Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudan
Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaja Rupa Sanatam Bhakta Raghunatha Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunatha Chai Gosai Kori Charana Vandana Jaha Hoite Vinana Savishta Purana Chai Gosai Jara Muritaro Dasa Dasavara Padarenu Mora Pachagrasa Tandra Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanevasa Janame Mora Eya Vilasa Chai Gosai Jave Raja Kolabasa Radha Krishna Antya-lila Gorila Prakasa Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavana Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Gurudev, 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 Jai 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 Gurudev, 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 Gurudev.
Jai Chaitanya Charitamrita Guru Gauranga Sundar Radha Giridhar Joki
Jai.
Jai Vishnu Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev-Goswami Maharaj Ki
Jai.
Jai Vishnu Srila Bhakti Rakha Sri Dev-Goswami Maharaj Ki
Jai.
Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai
Jai.
Guru Guru Gaur Ki Jai
Jai.
Namachar Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai
Jai.
Samveda Vaishnava Mandala Ki Jai Saraswati Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai
Jai.
Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita London Jai Dev-Goswami
Hari Bol.
Gadadaya Pane Prabhu Ki Jai.